Fantastic. Thank you so much, Pia Rose. I'm happy to see you. Happy to see you, Jospat. And also for the team that's here. Karibuni sana. Welcome so much. And I'm really excited. Thank you, Pia Rose. Yeah, Pia Rose found me in school and I was very busy doing exams. So I told her after exams, I'll be here. And I'm happy we did the exams last week. And here we are with these many winners. I'm excited to see we are 67 of us. And tonight we'll be learning about Supergrow. My story goes back 18 years when I joined NeoLife. And I was a very young lady, I could say. I was not married. I was working for University of Nairobi. But I joined NeoLife to use products. And I was happy to use the products and also to share with other people. But what was very exciting was we got to be retrenched. And I didn't think I would be retrenched because I was young. I had only worked 1 year. So I thought, this is not for me. So when I was actually retrenched, I had to think, what do I do? And I appealed for my job back. At the same time, I continued with my NeoLife business. And I'm happy to say it paid me 4 times my salary. I resigned after 3 years. So I've been in NeoLife as a full-time distributor from 2007 till now. And one of the products that took my heart and moved it to another level is Supergrow. And I think any video you see of Supergrow from those years is really from our team because we really saw the wonder drop. And we started recording what is happening in our farms. And we saw the miracle that Supergrow did. And for us, we took it further and even started a business. So we are called Chakula Limited. That's the name of our team. We are Team Chakula. And Chakula just means food in Kiswahili. And our work is to speak to farmers, to grow food in an ethical way, and to grow food using Supergrow because you don't need to pay so much for the cost of your production. So tonight we'll be sharing about Supergrow, and I hope that all of us can go and try use Supergrow if you've never tried it, because the difference it makes in your farm is awesome. So I'll be sharing my screen in a moment so that then we can start the discussions around Supergrow. And it's important for us to understand what is Supergrow as a product, what does it do, and how can we also benefit from it, and not just ourselves, but benefit many more people. So I'll be explaining, and for those of us who have used, I'm sure you will also enjoy that. But let's start by looking at what are the challenges farmers are facing today. In most parts of Africa, it's raining now. Even in Kenya, it's raining. So people are very excited because it's raining. And when it rains, we feel very hopeful because now we see there is water for the crops to grow. And what happens is there is a lot of soil erosion. So you find if your soil was not strong enough, it will be taken away with the water. It's what we call runoff and soil erosion. And it takes away the topsoil, which is the very best soil to grow crops. Then the other challenge farmers are facing now is the agricultural inputs. So you find there is a lot of things farmers want to put in the farm, and they are very expensive. There is a lot of pests, there are a lot of diseases, and we have experienced the dry spells when we have no rain, and people get really stressed, and they are very, very concerned that there is no rain and there is nothing to do about it. Then you find many farmers have over-reliance. We depend too much on using chemical-based fertilizers and insecticides and pesticides. And all that is a big challenge for many farmers. And you find, again, many farmers have no good education. And this I can speak for Kenya because I have seen that many people just start farming from nowhere. And they just say, kuna pesa, there's money in farming, let me go and start farming. But they don't know what they are doing. So there's a lot of guesswork. Many of them burn their fingers. And so you find all these challenges. So anytime you speak with a farmer, you'll hear one of these things or many of them that comes to the farmers. And this is what our founder saw. And he realized that we need to build a business that is built on ethics and that's built on a vision of a nation that eats healthy food, food that is grown well, that is not poisoning people, food that will not make people get sick, and food or crops that can be sustainable. So at the age of 19 years, our founder started NeoLife, and this is where Supergrow is found. And so this is our family, our founder, and we are happy that we belong to this big family, that from 1958 to date, the products that we make have sustained the quality and the balance it makes for other people. So for us, it's just to take up the mission, do the work, and share with other people. So all our products are based in nature and they are backed by science. It's important we understand that, because when you look at many products, they are not based in nature. Neither are they backed in science. So a lot of people are doing guesswork there. Just so long as there's business for them, they do it. But our products are under the Scientific Advisory Board. This is where we get our confidence from. Why I even started distributing Supergrow and other products from NeoLife was the money back guarantee. I like that I could tell somebody, if it doesn't work, I'll refund your money, and I've been there 18 years. Nobody has ever asked me to refund their money because the products have worked and always work. So this is Supergrow. It comes in 2 packages. I saw somebody on the screen there. They have the 1 liter package. So this is also the 5 liter package. So you can have both. And this is how it looks like. It's a white container, very good quality plastic that makes sure it protects what is inside the Supergrow. It's important to note that, so that you don't get your Supergrow and put it in another container that will spoil it or reduce its potency. So it needs to stay in that, and that's how it comes from the company. And our work is just that. We get it ready to go. So we'll be just explaining how we use it. Now, when it comes to the product, Supergrow, and you may ask, what is Supergrow? We need to understand that it is multi-purpose. It is very, very versatile. It's a product that you use in many ways. And that's why I tell people sometimes just use it for yourself, because there's no way sometimes even to explain it. So technically, would say it's an adjuvant, So basically, it mixes very well with other agricultural treatments or other products in the farm. So it's very nice to note that, especially like now when it's raining and drizzling, if you're putting any other input in the farm, mix your Supergrow, it will help it stick on the crops, and it coats the leaves, so that then that remains within the crop. The other thing that Supergrow does, it's proven. I always love this because sometimes people are doing things that are not proven, but we have seen that it is proven to improve your soil penetration and availability of water. I really wish we were doing this on a face-to-face, because how we do it is, if you take a glass, take 2 glasses of water, and then you put a drop of Supergrow in 1 glass. If you just take a paper and you cramp it like this and you put it inside the glass, normally when you are learning, and I want people to write in the chat, does a paper float in water or does it sink? That's the question I want you to answer, please. Does a paper float in water or sink in water? If you put a paper on water, does it float or does it sink? Let's see. Aha, Honorable Oscar is saying it floats, it floats, it floats. Fantastic. Very good. That's what we need to understand. Why does the paper float? Next question, why does the paper float? Why does it float in water or on water? Thank you. I see we have a very active audience here. Yes, it floats. Somebody says because it's light, it's less dense. I love these words that are coming up. Yes, Karaoke, you got it. Surface tension. That's exactly what happens. The paper floats because there is surface tension in the water. There is water surface tension. There's an ability of water to hold so that then it pushes the paper up. When you put Supergrow, the paper sinks because we remove the surface tension. So that's what we need to understand. Thank you, Irene. You said that water has a high surface tension. Exactly. And that's all you need to know about Supergrow. That when you don't put Supergrow in your crops, it will have the highest surface tension and it will not stick on the crops. It will just be like water, on skin. It just falls on the floor. So if any wind comes in your farm, it shakes the leaves, all the water goes. If a dog passes there or humans pass there, they just get their feet wet. But then nothing happens to your farm, to your crop. So what we need to remember is that water is not wet. Water has surface tension, and that's why paper floats. So when you put Supergrow, you remove the surface tension, and therefore the water allows the paper to sink. So that's an experiment I do, and every farm I've ever gone and done that, it works. So you need to see. The same happens in the root system. So it will improve the soil penetration. It will also improve the water availability. So when it's raining like now, you need the water to go deep into the roots. But if the water is not, it has a lot of surface tension, then it doesn't go very deep. So after a few days, the rain stops, or the water dries, your crops don't look like they got any rainfall. So that's one thing that we need to know about SuperGrow and the difference it makes, that it reduces the water surface tension. The other thing, it enhances the performance of pesticides. Sometimes you find there are white flies or there are all these insects that come to the crop. So if you want to spray something to get rid of those insects, you have to mix that product with SuperGrow so that then it works together and it is more efficient. The other thing that we have seen, and this is proven, is on fungicide. Fungicide are products we use, for example, for, let's say, blight. Sometimes we have blight. Sometimes we have, we have products that we use for preventing or other diseases like bacterial wilt or other crop diseases, depending on what crop you're growing. So when you put a fungicide and mix it with SuperGrow, you find it works even more. So it improves that performance. So instead of using maybe 3 bottles, you find if you're using SuperGrow, you'll just use 1 because it will be enough. So the other thing we've seen is the crop yield. This is very important. When I started working with farmers, you'd find a farmer with 1 acre, and I would ask them, how much of potatoes do you get from your 1 acre? They tell me 30 bags. And I tell them, no, when I read from the CARO, CARO is our Kenyan SI unit of production of crops. They say you should get 70 bags. Then I asked them, why are you getting half? And they say, we don't know what's happening. Once we started using SuperGrow, you find we were getting 90 bags. We are getting 100 bags, the same 1 acre. So crop yield is very important because it doesn't matter how good the market price is. If you didn't harvest the correct quantities of your acreage, already you are at a loss. So we want to improve our crop yield. If an acre should give you 70 bags, get the 70 bags. When you buy maize, it tells you how much it will give you for that product. So SuperGrow makes sure that happens. The other thing we want to discuss is exactly this. It's what I was sharing before, but I would like to emphasize when it comes to water, water is not wet. And I remember we used to joke, is water wet? We make water wetter. And people would ask, isn't water wet? And what we are saying is, what we need to know is that SuperGrow makes water wetter just by removing the surface tension. So the water can stick more. It can be a sticker. And then on the roots, they can go further because now there's nothing holding it. It just goes. Then it will reduce the runoff. This is something we really, especially people who have farms that are on a slope, they really suffer on runoff. And we need to take care of that because once the rain takes the water and there's evaporation, there is erosion, then you really have no soil. You are working with 0. And therefore now your soil has been depleted of all the fertility because normally fertility of the soil is on the topsoil. The other thing we need to know about SuperGrow is that SuperGrow helps us in terms of versatility. Versatility means you can use it for many ways, not just one way to use it. And that's why we call it the wonder drop. So it can be used anywhere you use water. So long as you use water to mix your fertilizer, pesticide, herbicide, whatever, then you can use SuperGrow there. You mix with it. We've said it's a very good sticker, especially now when it's raining and drizzling. You use it as a sticker, it will do very well. When there is blight, early blight or late blight, or what we call frost or baridi, when it's very, very frosty and the cold burns off all the leaves and they turn black. When you put SuperGrow, you find that doesn't happen. It actually has some oil on it that makes sure that the leaves remain very green. And that's what you want for your crops. It's like you've clothed your crops with some nice warm jacket. So we don't want your crops exposed like that in the farm with all the elements, especially for people who are not using greenhouse. If you are doing open crops, which are just up in the sky, down under the sky, you may need to protect that so that then your crops can have that cover. So spray SuperGrow on them so that they are, covered nicely. Then SuperGrow is also something we call emulsifier. Emulsifier is like when you're using paint, let's say you're painting a house, you see painters using turpentine to kind of dilute. They kind of dilute the paint. So it's the same thing. We want it to spread more. So in the local language here, we say spreader. So you'll hear farmers talking about spreader. So you don't need to go buying spreaders and stickers out there. When you use SuperGrow, it has all that. It improves on the dispersion of the oil. And that oil is what protects your leaves or the leaves of the crop from all these elements, be they insecticides, be they insects or cold. Sometimes it rains and there are hailstones, so it makes it stay a bit safer in that sense. Now, the other thing we need to look at is this wonder drop that we're talking about. We've said it's a sticker, and it just has that covering. It's like you have a natural greenhouse for your crop. And this is evident when it's very dry. So when it's not raining, a lot of crops just wither. Just when they wither and they look dead, and they could even just go that way and die off. So when you use Super Grow, it allows your leaves to remain vibrant. Let's remember, so long as your leaves are not green, there is no photosynthesis happening. Therefore, they are not, the crop is not feeding. And if it's not feeding, just like human beings, if you're not eating, you'll die. So the same. So you need to make sure your leaves are green and they are healthy. They are looking up. They're not looking down. They're not curling up. There's something that is called leaf curl, where you find a leaf is folding in the inside. It just means that leaf is not healthy. So you need to use Super Grow so that the leaves remain open and they remain green. And because a lot of our crops feed in the night, that's when they open. Something we learned called start. You know, those things we learned. I don't want to go technical on it, but it's just to say your crops feed at night. So we recommend even Super Grow spray it in the evening, that the whole night it's taking care of it. It's absorbing all the moisture in the atmosphere, all the dew that comes in the night, it goes in. And in the morning, you find your crop is like it was irrigated and it can survive. This last season in Kenya, when there was a long drought, some places had no rain for 6 months, we witnessed people who planted potatoes and harvested, and they never received any rainfall. That for us was wonderful, because people say we can't grow crops when there is no rain. So long as there is dew in the night where you stay, even if there is no rain and you use Super Grow, your crops will grow. That I can tell you. I have seen it in garden peas. I've seen it in potatoes. We saw it in maize, and it has also worked for sweet potatoes. Now, the other thing we said is that Super Grow helps in the penetration of other inputs, other applications that you may want to use in your farm. And therefore, in general, it does the protection of your crop from planting all the way to harvesting. So that's why we are saying start Super Grow application at planting. Start it at planting. In case you're here and you are late, you didn't plant with Super Grow, then go and input it now. It is very important at the growth stage of your crop. So crops have a cycle. So we start with planting. They are very, very in need of nutrients at that point, because the seed is opening up and the root system is being created. So it needs to be supported with manure and also with Super Grow. Then it is then going to grow and get some leaves. We call that stage vegetative. Vegetative is a stage that now it's opening the leaves, it's feeding through photosynthesis. So you need to support your crops by putting Super Grow at that stage. And then now there is the next stage where the maturity. So if it's a fruit or if it's vegetables, they grow big, then you harvest. So anything you're harvesting and you don't uproot it, it means it will grow again, like sukuma wiki, like hoho, like chili. So every time you harvest, you then apply Super Grow again. So if you're doing sukuma wiki or spinach, things like those, every time you cut out, you harvest, you spray so that the new sprouts come up, and they come up very well. So that's how Super Grow becomes very efficient. And I've seen farms use Super Grow entirely. We don't use anything else in the farm, and we are able to feed people healthy food. Now, let's think about the best way to save water, because water, we are saying, is the resource that is very rare, and we need to think about how do we save water, especially if there's anyone in the group here who is using, growing avocado or other fruits. They are water guzzlers. These are guzzlers. They'll finish all the water in the water table. So what we need to do is to use a lot of Super Grow on them, because then they can retain more. They retain more of the water, and therefore we don't demand a lot from the root system. So it's always important to remember water is not very available. So you want to make water available to the root, and you also want to make water available to the leaves. And that's what exactly Super Grow does. So Super Grow is made specially for farmers to get maximum value of every drop of water from the soil. So we say there is water, like now when it rains, the water goes to the soil. It needs to store it under there in the root system. Then the leaves also need moisture. So there's always humidity in the night. And that cold weather in the night is what the crop needs. But if it has no super grow, it doesn't get that benefit. You find it will look nice in the morning or in the evening, but during the day, it will look very beaten up when the sun comes up. So we reduce water surface tension, as we have mentioned. And the next thing is we are able to boost the ability of the water to get to the soil, you know? So we also reduce water loss. We reduce water loss we reduce evaporation, because let's remember that even if God sends dew in your crops and there's nothing to hold that dew, the sun will take it out through evaporation. So what we've seen in farms where we put super grow, you go there at 11 o'clock at midday, there's still dew on the leaves. The water is just taking, the crop is taking the water, slowly by slowly. But where there's no super grow, what happens is all the water that came in the night, any wind, anything coming around takes it away, or the sun comes up, it evaporates. So you find your plant is not benefiting from that water. So you need to remember that to give your crop an advantage and to grow faster. That's why you find food that you have grown with super grow faster. We are always 3 weeks ahead of the rest of the crop. And you want that so that you can find a good market. So the other thing about super grow is that it's very economical. And this, again, is very important for us to note that it's very, very economical. And we need to remember that, because sometimes you look at products being sold in the market and you're told the ratio is 60 mils to 20 liters. Some you're told 80 mils. That's very high concentration. Super grow, we are saying for 20 liters, you put 20 mils. I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing what you can do. So we are saying 5 liter, the one I showed you when we start. It goes to 5,000 liters of water. So you can irrigate 50 acres with that one jerrycan, you know, and I've seen people use that 5 liter for 3 seasons. So it's very economical. And I can tell you for sure, it's a better product to work with than any other way we can look at it. You know, sometimes you look at what else are you putting in the farm? And I keep telling people, do the math and look, what else are you putting? Because there's no need of putting 4 or 5 items in the farm where you could have just used super grow and it's enough for everything. The other thing is that it's multi-purpose and we use it for all crops. Sometimes people ask me, can I put it on tea leaves? Can I put it on coffee? Can I put it on cassava? Can we put it on sweet potato? And I say, yes, all the crops, even grass and flowers. So other products you find, they are very restricted. They tell you this one is only for sukuma wiki. You can't put it in spinach. You can't put it in beans. Super grow is good for everything. So I've seen it work. And I want to speak about this because we did a major research here in Kenya. And this was done in the year 2009. We'll never remember, forget that time. And the super grow went off for 3 years. For 3 years, it had to be researched. And we wanted to see, is it true what we are saying? How will it behave in the seasons of Kenya? In 3 years, we had dry season, wet season, we had blight, we had all these different conditions. And we wanted to see how super grow will behave. We also wanted to look at the most common diseases when it comes to crops. So most common diseases is something we call angular leaf spot. This affects like all crops. You'll find it in tomatoes, you'll find it in hoho or pepper or chilies. You'll find it in beans. Then we have early blight. Again, you find it in tomatoes, in potatoes, you get it there. We have aphids. Aphids are a menace for many vegetable growers. They will tell you it will eat scales, it will eat spinach, it will eat flowers, it will even eat your fence, you know? So aphids are all over and it's a big menace. And we have white flies. These are very common here in Kenya. And so we wanted to see how will super grow behave when it comes to this prevention of these diseases and these pests. So what we did then was to look at a big major crop that we export in large numbers in Kenya to the export market, which is the French beans. And as the French beans, we were looking. So if you look at the left, we were saying this is when you have just water in your field of French beans, then you have your water, you just use water only and fungicide. Then on the other side, we said, these are French beans that had aphids and white flies. The other one had angular leaf spot. So we were looking, how does it behave? So we put fungicide and supergrow, the blue column that you can see there. And this was the result. It was amazing. So when you look at what we saw, for us, it was amazing because we saw the growth or the improvement. Everywhere we put supergrow, you find the numbers did well. So when we put a competitor, you know, so when you think of the number one, apart from supergrow, who is the next competitor, you find then they came low, below there. And when there was nothing, just water only, it even came down more. The other thing on prevention of aphids and whiteflies, again, the same we saw. When you bring the number one competitor, there was no comparison. When there was just pesticide only, you know, and water only, you know, you find it's the same. So this is the percentage of the decrease of aphids. And this was on the left is the decrease of the fungicide or the power of the fungicide. So we realized this is what we need to know as farmers. So it's very important to understand that if you're going to put any input and you're not using supergrow with it, you are reducing the absorption. So it's like you're using 50% of its power. So why waste your money on that? So put supergrow, mix it with anything you want to put in the farm so that it can increase. So these were the results and they came out very well. So this was proven, and not just by us, by many others, and we are happy that even got the Poisons Board license number to actually give this evidence. And that gave us the magnitude to sell supergrow at any scale now that we want. We are not limited. We did the same in tomatoes. Again, tomatoes is a major crop in the horticulture. Again, tomato gets early blight like potatoes. It also gets aphids and whiteflies. And again, we did the same. And every time we use supergrow with anything, the results were better. 90%, over 90% decrease of aphids and whiteflies when we used supergrow and pesticide. The other people were down there using, you know, some were, even the efficacy was much lower, some even at 40%. So it's important for us to note that when you use supergrow with any other product in the farm, it improves its work. So imagine the same product, we use it with just water and you get 50% result. Then that same product now with supergrow and the results are over 90%. So that tells you supergrow is a real catalyst. It really helps. So again, we looked at crop yield. Yield improvement is on percentage. If you harvested 1 ton, now you use supergrow, what's the increase of that yield? And we realized when we used with, I mean, it's still a great number. So you see we are here above almost 40% increase. And we'll find for other things, other pesticides, they didn't even reach 30% increase. So again, it's just when you use water. This was for French bean and even for tomatoes, the same. It really increased on production. Because the truth is this, if a crop is sick, it won't produce. It's like one of us, if you're unwell, you can't be productive. So we don't want our crop sick. That's why we want to use supergrow. And as we use supergrow, let's be confident because this is proven. This has been done at the highest level in Kenya in terms of research, and it has really come on very well. So one of the things we need to remember is that supergrow has been proven, and that was a long time ago. It's many years now. We've seen the results over and over again. So this is the other menace that is disturbing many farmers. You talk of red spider mite, and especially the damage it can do on roses. So again, this is a major export product for Kenyans. We export a lot of flowers, and this is something I've seen. I already supply to over 14 farms, major farms, export farms. And what we saw was exactly this. If you can guarantee any farm that they will not get all these diseases, and if you get one infection, it can be gotten rid of if you use supergrow with the insecticide they're using, then it works. So we looked at this again, and it significantly improved on the roses and the yield of the roses. Again, remember, money is in the pure rose when it's clean, like the one on the picture there on the right. That's how it should go to the market, when it's bright and colorful and soft, not like this sequence. This sequence, they're not going anywhere. You don't want a flower like this one. If somebody brought you such a flower, you'll even think they hate you. They look like it's a burnt flower. And this is the damage of red spider mite. So when you use supergrow on red spider mite, we also looked at a disease called powdery mildew. And this doesn't only just get on roses, it also gets on crops. Horticulture is almost the same. So you find the issues are very similar. So when we used insecticide and supergrow, the decrease of pests went very, we reduced by almost 45%, And when we used the fungicide on powdery mildew, so the decrease of early blight again was marked at over 34%. So as you can see, the blue column shows that where we use supergrow, we reduced more faster. Where you didn't use supergrow and you used fungicide and competitor number one, then you can see the reduction was maybe 20%. So we are leading by over 10%, in some areas over 20%. So that is important news for us to know. So this is the product we are talking about. And so as we go out there to talk to people, let's know and measure. When you measure, then you can see the difference. It maximizes your crop yield, it will maximize your profits, and it is versatile. As you've said, it's economical. The other thing I want to say that it's safe. In Chakula, we only buy food grown with supergrow, and we are happy to do that. And we supply this food to people who know that this is how our fish grow. So don't grow food with the unsafe products, toxin, products which are caustic, which are flammable. Some of those things you spray and you have to take milk because your system is all sick. With supergrow, you don't have to worry. It's very safe, it's very clean, it's multi-purpose. You've said you can use it indoor for your indoor plants and also outdoor for the outdoor plants. And as you've said, there's a lot of evidence on the proven performance. So my challenge to all of us is let's go and do our own experiments. It's always good to do your own experiments so that you can see. I grow flowers a lot, so I like to see supergrow working on the flowers and how they just look all vibrant. So this works in all ways. So as we've said in summary, this is what supergrow does. We've said it's an agricultural wetter and a sticker. It's an agricultural wetter and sticker. Technically, we would say it's an adjuvant and a surfactant. But to use simple English, just say it's a wetter. It just makes water wetter, and then it helps to stick. And then it will help retention of the spray. Anything you spray on the plant surface, it will help on that. It will also enhance distribution of that spray over the plant foliage. Foliage is the plant where there are leaves. And it will flow on the stems like that and down. So we spray it and we are sure the whole crop is covered. We said it reduces surface tension. So again, it really will help in terms of making water wetter and making other pesticides work, or rather fertilizer. If you've used manure, it will also make your manure really be utilized. So it's very good. The other thing is we clean our knapsack sprayer. Some farmers use the same knapsack sprayer for the cattle. They go and use it to disinfect the ticks on the cattle. Then the same knapsack sprayer you want to go and spray on your carrots and on your sukuma wiki. So what we say, please, before you do that, you use supergrow to wash the container, wash with it, and spray it out so the nozzle can also get rid of that pesticide that you are using for the ticks. So it's very good for cleaning of farm equipment, especially the knapsack sprayer. So when it comes to mixing, we've said it's 1 ml to 1 liter. So for the 5 liter jerry can, like this, what you can see on the screen, you would mix it with 5,000 liters of water. So when you buy it, it comes with a measuring cup so that then you'll be able to measure. So I want us to end as we talk about the application, because this is very important. And sometimes when you start using supergrow, you think it's very little. And that's why we say it's a wonder drop. It's just a drop. You don't need a whole lot of supergrow. It's very economical. So this is the standard mixture, 1 ml to 1 liter of water. So that's exactly what it does. So if you have a 5 liter jerry can of water, you only put a teaspoon of supergrow, and that's sufficient to just reduce the surface tension in that one. So these are some testimonies, and I'm sure in the room here, some of our distributors, we are here, and we have seen this happening, and it's amazing. It's just amazing what supergrow does. So this is bananas. I know we all know bananas, and it works in all bananas, be they plantain, the bananas we cook, the ones we ripen. I mean, supergrow just does well on the bananas. These are the guava. Again, this is in Uganda. So we've seen this in terms of the quality and the size. You want them very big and soft, and the pink, really pink. So they come out very well. And we've also seen it in coffee. This is in Kenya. I have witnessed, I have 2 coffee factories that have seen the results of Supergrow. So it's amazing what it does on coffee and also on tea. So for those who have not tried, you can do that. And then for the maize, of course, this is our cash crop. We grow a lot of maize. So it has worked very well. And I have people who are growing maize for silage, and it's coming out very well. Then these are the normal beans that we know. Again, you want to improve on your yield. You don't want to open your bean. The pod has only two seeds inside, yet it's supposed to have a whole stream of 6 or 8. That is not okay. It's like you're taking something that somebody else has already eaten. So we don't want crops that are not maturing, or you take your maize cob and it has only a few maize, here and there. You want it all full, and this happens when you apply Supergrow from planting. Let's remember that. We have to give it power from planting. This is cassava, and cassava, as we know, it's useful, very good. So you grow cassava also. Cassava is one of the very heavy feeders of crops. So if you grow cassava and you don't put Supergrow, the soil becomes very infertile very quickly because it's a heavy feeder. So you need to keep putting Supergrow. And this also happens to other heavy feeders, like avocado is a heavy feeder, fruits are heavy feeders. So you need to put Supergrow on them because they need to be replenished. Then we have tomatoes. Of course, I spoke about tomatoes. And we have pumpkins. I hope we eat pumpkins, but they are amazing. When you look at pumpkins grown with Supergrow, you don't even peel it. You just wash it and cook it with everything. It's wonderful. It gives you all that goodness. So allow me to end there and be able to come back and see on the chat. Maybe there are some questions that have come up, but in a nutshell, that's what Supergrow does. And I always say, go out and try yourself. Go out and try yourself, because until you do it for yourself, then you can't say for sure you know what it is about. You just need to go and try. And I wish us all success. Don't fear on using Supergrow. We've used it over 18 years. It's the main source of our business. And I can tell you it works all the time. And initially people would fear, do I go to a big farm, a plantation? Today I tell people why not? Why not? Go and show them. The bigger the farm, the better, because they need to save more money. So it is proven to work, and it's proven to be very good business for all of us. So I want to hand over back to you, Pierrot or Josephat. And once again, I really appreciate the opportunity to share with us this. And let's hear the testimonials as they come around and as we grow our business with Supergrow. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mercy.
Wow.
That's amazing. That you are a true, expert, as Pierrot introduced you. And we really appreciate even non-farmers like myself can now get into the shamba and start farming with the Supergrow. And you made it look like it's real fun, making money when one is having fun. So thank you so much, Mercy. And today is your day.
Thank you.
Yes, today is your day. So don't move an inch, because participants here have got some questions that they would love that you address. Simple and challenging.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Yes, I'm going to throw all of them to you.
Yes.
And we may not address everything because some are more or less the same. But kindly I think we can go a question, you respond, we go to the other and other. So
yeah, that's in order. Yeah.
Yes. So can we start with the simplest? Is Supergrow a foliar or a fertilizer? I know it's a simple one, but just go on.
Thank you for that. And it's a good question. And we need to understand what foliar means and what does fertilizer mean. So foliar is something as anything that fits the leaves of a crop. So whatever fits leaves is deemed a foliar feed, as we say. So it's feeding a crop, but through the leaves. And does Supergrow do that? Yes, it does. Now, is it a fertilizer? Now, fertilizer is something that has components. For example, we have NPK, which is potassium, and it has nitrogen, So, or you have like 13, or you have 17, 17, 17. So it's the ratio of the component of that fertilizer. So when it comes to fertilizers, there are many fertilizers, and Supergrow is not a fertilizer. So what we need to understand is that Supergrow by itself has no fertilizer ability. What it does, it activates what is already in the soil or what you add. If you had put manure, and we keep saying manure is among the best. Of course, if you're feeding your cattle or goats the best things, then manure should be one of the richest sources. This other fertilizer we buy in the shop, that's why you find that ratio, NPK, and then it tells you the ratio, and some has 0, some has 4, some has 13. So you find you need a fertilizer that has all the components. So compound fertilizer or compost fertilizer is the best. It's the number one. It has over 13 components, 16 components. Next is manure, the one that comes from cows. But of course, if you're feeding your cows only banana fiber and that banana stock, it's not a good one. So you need to feed it well. But then they go coming down. Then there's the ones that are made in the laboratory, the ones that people buy in sacks, the synthetic, those are the lowest quality. And so what happens is the lifetime of that fertilizer also is very short. You apply fertilizer today, CAN or DAP, you find by 2 days, if you don't use it in the crop, it dies off. The power of it goes. So that's why we need to put super grow to activate it to be able to use. So thank you. Back to you.
Wow, you've already mentioned about the NPK issue with someone, and asked in the chat, I'm seeing one of us also trying to write the components there.
Yes.
So do we go by what has been posted there, or you may want to add anything?
No, what I would say again is on the testing. So what I would say, let's follow we have a guideline that has been given by the company in terms of what is composed in the super grow, so to say. So what we say is that it's an adjuvant and a surfactant. Basically, that doesn't mean it has all that. So the component and the grammage, as you can see, grammage per liter, it's really micro, if I could say that, it's micro. Somebody has said macro, micro, but what we need is, depending on what you're growing, does it require that? So we've seen in farms where there was nothing, you've done soil test and there's literally nothing, but then you need to put super grow, then we have to still put manure for the fertility to come back to the level that's required. So I would say this goes with the crop that you want to grow and the amount of each component or element that's required for that crop. So for some, you don't need to add anything. This is sufficient, but for others, you'd have to add. Yeah.
Thank you. Someone was asking whether it's safe to use on edible leaves, and of course, super grow being organic. Yes. I think that one I can just say yes.
We actually spray and harvest and go eating in the farm. So it's that one I have no doubt for sure. Yeah.
Sure. Now a mathematical one here. How much do we use for 300 heads of cabbage? I think the person who asked that only needs to know the ratio of mixing 1 liter of super grow to 1,000 liters of water.
Yes.
And then you can use it the normal way you've been using. But then frequency.
Yeah, maybe Joseph, just what is to say for cabbage, you can only put super grow until it forms the first 2 leaves. Once it starts forming the leaves, then don't apply super grow because you're telling it to continue vegetating. So it will spread like a sukuma wiki. So if you're doing cabbage, when it falls, you find the first 2 leaves like this, then you stop applying. And I saw somebody asking, can you apply super grow when the crop has flowered? So I think I would also want to ask which crop. So some crops you don't spray after flowering. Others that have multiple growth and harvest cycles, you can do it. Yeah, so it depends which one.
Wow, thank you so much. That's a nice one. Yeah. And you have also answered another one that was asked there, withdrawal period. When should one stop applying for vegetables, which you have just answered right now?
Yeah, so maybe on that, just to clarify, if your vegetables are like, we eat the leaves, let's say like it's sukuma wiki, spinach, those ones are terere, managu. Once you harvest, it grows another lot. So those ones, every time you harvest, you still spray. So we do 7 days intervals. But if it's cabbage, you have to end it at the place it falls. If it's chili, we do it over and over again every time we harvest because chili has it's a perennial crop. So for perennial crops, you carry on. So long as it's budding, new buds, you apply. Yeah.
That's very helpful. Maybe you could also mention about maize.
Yeah, thank you. So for maize, again, we keep saying, your maize is matured when it has the young one. The young one, then it has formed the smooth don't know what to call it in English. But at that point, it has already matured. It doesn't need super grow at that point, unless you are applying other things like a pesticide or a fungicide you can mix. But for the purpose of growth, do it from planting, so that then by the time it is getting to maturity, it already has carried the goodness of the product. Otherwise, you're feeding it when it's already past the stage of inputting the goodness. Yeah.
Frequency on coffee. Someone wants to know, how frequently do you use it on coffee?
All right, for coffee, we apply right from pruning. So after we put copper, I don't know, it depends which coffee again there, but normally what we do after we harvest coffee and the new buds start coming up, we apply on the coffee at that point. Sometime the coffee has been pruned, we start at pruning and we go all the way until it gets the seed. So once they start ripening, we stop. We stop for coffee. Yeah, and also somebody has also asked for potatoes, and this we do very well. So for potatoes, you plant with it. So once you do your trenches, we usually do potatoes in the trenches. You put the potato looking up, the side that has the eyes, those eyes, they looking up. Then you spray super grow, then you put soil. Then you let it grow. Then after that, it will germinate. Then you come and spray again. Yeah, then after that, you will put the mold. You put the soil back again, then you spray again. So it forms a canopy, a very good canopy. So you find you don't need to come again weeding. In fact, for potatoes, it will save you a lot of labor cost because you don't weed potatoes that you're using super grown it. But again, the spacing has to be nice so that the canopy can form well. So for potatoes, we do that until the leaves, the small flower is not open. There's a way it buds like this, but it has not fully opened. That's the last stage of applying super grow for potatoes. So it's about 3 to 4 times of the crop cycle of potatoes. Yeah.
Wonderful. Now, a technical one here, I think it's because of, infiltration of water to the soil. How does it work in swampy soils?
Thank you for asking that. Yeah, one of the big challenges when it comes to crop or land preparation is you look at the way the land is placed. So if you're growing things in swampy areas, you need to ask which things are you growing. Some crops prefer that kind of condition, like rice, or if you're doing napier grass or trees, some are okay with that. So if you're going to plant crops that are okay with swampy areas, like rice, it's okay. In fact, we put super grow in rice puddles. So the idea is just to mix with the water within it. Now, if you don't want it to be swampy and you want to drain off the water, now again, it goes with how you can use a chisel plow in that kind of a farm, then use super grow so that the water goes down. So again, for farm, some people use a higher ratio. So instead of putting the 1 ml to 1 liter, they'll put more, slightly more, like 40 mils, just to allow that, because the effect of more super grow than necessary is that it cracks more on the soil. One time we did that experiment to see what would happen if you put more super grow than recommended. And we realized it forms very big cracks on the farm. So if it's swampy, it will make sure the water goes deeper. Yeah, but ideally, let's check also, is somebody growing food on riparian land that should not be grown for food, or is it that the area is just swampy and needs draining? So ideally, you could also do beds that lift up the farm a bit. Yeah.
Wow, this is very rich, Mercy, and we appreciate. Someone was asking whether it's a fertilizer or pesticide, but obviously you mentioned it as you were teaching. It's none of the two. It's just foliar. Someone else, do we use it on napier grass?
Yes, very well, that I have seen. And anybody doing fodder, we are saying now napier grass is the lowest of the category of napier fodder for animals. Let's grow much more nutritious food for our cows, like Lucerne and other nicer. Saisi kupe tu moramba. You know, moramba is that banana stalk. We used to give that banana thing and the napier grass. Nutritionally, they are very low now. So if you're doing fodder, try do like the Rhodes, the grass. Try do some and other good ones, like canola. Those are better. They are better for the cows anytime. But napier grass for sure, it does. It works very well and makes it very soft.
Now, I want the audience to listen to this one carefully. There has been a discussion on, oh, you use it in crops, for chicken, for fish, I don't know, for hair. What would be your comment on all these uses, Mercy?
All right, thank you for that. I think as we are Kenyans and maybe we are also very curious on how to do things, it's good to note. I always say we follow the company guidelines. What would make your product be refunded? For me, that's the strength of it. So I always say the same way you can use your chair to climb up and use it as a ladder. It is a chair, but you're using it as a ladder, it's your choice. And for me, I would say some of this is not proven in terms of the book. You can't come to NeoLife and say my hair didn't grow because I used super glue and now give me a refund. They will not give you a refund because that's not what it's meant to be used. So what I tell people is we need to just know why are we using for that purpose. For sure, some results are there, we can see, you know, and if you want to sell it for that, then you need to know on what purpose are you selling it for that. So the intended purpose of Supergrow is entirely for crop production. Yeah, but people say, if it's growing the crops, let's also grow my hair. And they're using it for hair growth also. But again, we say you have to use it like a treatment, like use and wash, you know, because again, when we use products for what they were not intended for, then we are not liable. Should anything go wrong, you can't go back and say, where is the batch number? What was the scientific evidence of that? It is not on the company again. Yeah, that would be my say.
Yes, I'm still at the other uses other than the shamba, but more related to that, and that is a fish pond. Of course, we know that it's not really meant to feed the fish, but the crops that the fish feeds on. But you could maybe mention something to that effect, Mercy.
All right, thank you for that. So what I would recommend, what happens in many fish ponds, you grow water lilies or other crops that feed or bring aeration to the fish pond. So normally that's the essence. So when you put Supergrow on a fish pond, it's also to grow either the algae that the fish feed on or the water lilies that make the aeration and purify the water in the fish pond. So that is important. Otherwise, if your fish pond has no vegetation, you'll find it turning green because it has no aeration and so it's not fresh. So if that is the case, then you could use Supergrow in that sense. But again, because of the ratios of it, you just mix in a container like a bucket and pour in, you know, and I've seen that happen, especially even in ponds where you just beauty ponds and you have a lot of, because the root system is the same and that's what the fish are feeding on. So it's a healthy ecosystem for that purpose. Yeah.
Now, Mercy, we could engage you up to tomorrow morning. I want to have Mercy on Mercy and suggest this team because you've done an amazing job, Mercy. Wow. And besides, we need to give flowers and claps on the charts to Mercy. But I want to make a suggestion to all participants. Please make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and you'll be able to access this recording and many others. But number two, if you really have fallen in love with the Supergrow, why not get back to the person who invited you? They guide you on how you can be accessing it directly. And for your information, it will even be cheaper and you'll be able to learn more about it. So you are all welcome. Those who are here for the very first time, you are most welcome to the Superstars team. And by the way, it goes beyond just farming with the Supergrow to becoming a huge business that can give you residual income, but we'll be able to share that with you on Saturday, 8 p.m. Make sure the person who invited you today re-invites you for our business meeting on Saturday, 8 p.m. That's it for now. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much, Mercy, for your precious time. We can never pay you enough. We can only say, thank you. God increase you.
Amen, amen. Thank you so much. I wish you well and have a nice evening. Good night.
Good night, everyone. Bye-bye, all. God bless.